Harvey's Elizabethan Ale.
Life is too short to be drinking shitty beer.
Welcome to another edition of Bands, Bikes and Booze Reviews. I have got the very first one I have reviewed from Harvey's. Harvey's, not sure if you're aware, but they are a brewery based in a place called Sussex, which is on the south coast, next county along from Kent. And this brewery are pretty good. They have quite a long history. 1880 was when they were formed, and they've been brewing beer since then. They're so good that they sell them elsewhere as well, in Green King pubs. Now, there's a story about the Green King pub. Shall I tell you about it? Oh, fuck it, I will, yeah. Quick story, I'll keep it as short as I can, right? There was a Green King pub half a mile down the road from the brewery, and they used to sell, obviously, all the Green King beers because they were tied to the Green King brewery, but they also sold some of this not some of this, but some of the bitter, some of this the extra special bitter that Harvey's do, and it is good. And it was a big seller. It used to, sell, I think the ratio was 4-1 for every 1 pint of Green King bitter it would sell. It would be selling 4 pints of the Harvey stuff. Now, obviously, Green King didn't like that, and their old manager of licensed premises that Green King have, and Green King have got quite a big portfolio of pubs. He went down there and said, "You can't sell it. Stop selling it." Of course, the locals all went mental, and they said, "Well, if you're not going to allow the pub to sell it, we're not going in here." And they stood outside. And they did that for, I think it was 133 days, but they'd done it properly. They got the papers involved, they got all the locals involved. It was really bad publicity for Green King. In the end, they sacked their manager. Green King sacked the manager of the managed pubs, and they reinstated the Harvey's bitter in there.
I can tell you they're an absolute shower, a positive shower.
Now, do you know what? I've seen Harvey's bitter in the supermarket and I've never bought it. I don't know why, but I'm definitely going to get it now. I've read that. And it is a good pint. I see these the other day on Noble Green. Quite a few Harvey's beers for sale on there. And I thought, right, British brewer, quite local. Obviously in the next county, but still quite local. I'm going to investigate this. So I'm going to stop gassing and I'm going to investigate this beer. Right, this is a 275ml bottle. It is 7.5%. Now, there's a big debate around barley wine and old ale. What is the classification? Harvey's call it a barley wine. Personally, I'd consider it an old ale. Apparently, there's no difference. It's all subjective. Let me close this laptop down. It sounds like it's frying an egg. It's all subjective, really. Some people would class it as a barley wine. For me, barley wine is stuff like 11%. It's super sweet. The gold label stuff, that's what I consider barley wine. And to be honest, that isn't great. I should get a bottle of that to review. But the beer was actually brewed in 1953, and it was to celebrate Queen Elizabeth II's coronation. And it's been going ever since, hence the name Elizabethan Ale. On the side, it just says all about this. It calls it a barley wine or an October ale. Now, October ales, that is the classic definition of an old English ale, or an old ale as it's called. Brewed in October, it would ferment over, normally be drunk at Christmas, called a winter warmer, etc. High alcohol, high malt, they're the characteristics of it. But yeah, that's basically what it says on the side of it. Yeah, usual caper contains malted barley, blah blah blah. Cap is just a plain gold cap. Here's the label. It's got a picture of a ship. 1953, and not that pretty. I wouldn't say nondescript, but it's a pretty boring label in there. But yeah, let's get it into the glass and let's see what's going on with it. Right. This has got April 21, 21st of April. No, it's not the 21st of April, it's April 2021. But to be honest, as I've said before, you could drink these 2 or 3 years afterwards. It doesn't say whether it's bottle conditioned, I'm assuming it is. But wow, there is a serious amount of malt in this. And it smells absolutely gorgeous. And so fruity as well. It is like a fruit cake drenched in alcohol. That's what I'm getting. It smells absolutely gorgeous. Now, I have to say, this is probably one of my favourite styles of beer. You know, for German stuff, it's the Weiss beer. British stuff, I like the old ales. This heavily malted, strong alcohol, small measures. That's what I like. Bottle conditioned, preferably. There it is in the glass. Not much of a head. I wouldn't expect it with the high alcohol, but there you go. Super clear. You can see right through that. Nice chestnut colour. Light carbonation in that. Oh my good God. There is a ton of toffee malt and fruitcake and spirit alcohol. But the spirit alcohol's a bit subtle. It does smell nice. Now this has won 11 awards, so it must be good. They use local hops. They're all hops from either Kent, Surrey or Sussex, and they all just use British hops. And the malts that are used, and it's probably why it's smelling so good, they put Maris Otter in nearly all their beers. And you can't go wrong with Maris Otter. That's probably one of the, well, they call it the Rolls Royce of malts. And yeah, it does make a difference. Interestingly, or slightly unnervingly, the yeast strain has been borrowed from the John Smith's Brewery in Tadcaster. And whether that's good or bad, I don't know. But if it's won 11 awards, then I imagine that's quite good. Let's get it down the hatch. Cheers. Wow. Actually, this is more reminiscent of a barley wine. This is what I would consider a barley wine. Lovely warming alcohol going down there on the finish. And I can feel that going down. It's very nice. It's quite sweet, but malty sweet, if you know what I mean. Fruity as well. There was an absolute ton of fruit. Like roasted raisins, sultanas, cherries, black cherries. It's like a fruit cake or a Christmas cake even. Actually, the cherry notes on this, I'm really getting them coming through. Spirit alcohol is definitely there as well. But it's really nice. It really is good. Sweet malt and fruit. That's sweet malt, fruit and spirit alcohol. That sums this up. And it's really nice. I can imagine some people may not like this. This is quite heavy going. It's very sweet. Definitely my definition of a barley wine. Now if you compared this to, say, Fuller's 1845. Now the two of them are considered old ales or barley wines, whatever you want to call them. This to me is more like a barley wine because of the sweetness. I associate barley wine with sweetness, but that's just me. There's no, that's not definitive. It's just my perception. So yeah, the description, I would go with this. I had sort of thought it was old ale, but yeah. It's something like, if you've ever had Old Tom by Robinson's Brewery, that to me is a definitive old ale. That is this is a hell of a lot sweeter. Reminds me of the Yorkshire Stingo, which incidentally is considered an old ale, so work that one out. The two definitely do cross over. Really nice. I do like that. Sweetness is just a little tiny bit too much for me though. That's the only downside, but that is a minor gripe. The rest of it is absolutely superb. It's really good, uniquely British as well. It's almost got like a spirit quality to it, like any good old ale or barley wine has, like a rum. Reminds me of rum, spiced rum, because there's a little touch of spice, but there's more fruit on this. I mean, this is just a fruit fest. Dark forest fruit, basically a Christmas cake or a fruit cake soaked in alcohol. That's what this is. Looks lovely. So what's the verdict? Well, this isn't bad, and considering that is 7.5%, I have pretty much caned that, and I can almost feel like a little tiny buzz. So yeah, you've got to give this a bit of respect. You can't just neck this. I really like it. It is on the sweet side though, and if you're not a fan of very, very sweet beers, you may want to give this a swerve. But there's a difference that I sort of perceive with sweetness. There's a sugary sweetness that I just can't stand. It puts me right off. This is more of a fruity sweetness, and it's lovely. I would give this, I'm going to give this an 8.5 out of 10, and I definitely recommend it. If you like your barley wines and you like your strong ales, your strong British ales, you're not a massive fan of these hoppy American style beers, when they talk about fruit, they're talking about tropical stone fruit and grapefruit, that type of thing. This is the exact opposite. This is typical British, heavy, strong alcohol, dark fruit, warming beer, and I love it. That is an 8.5 out of 10, and that's recommended. And remember, beer is working class champagne.